Hi there. Welcome to a tutorial on the Keynote app. Again, this is a series of tutorials focusing on different aspects of the Keynote app and how to use them so you can watch, learn, practice, and then move on to different skills. This specific tutorial is going to focus all about the Shapes app on top, or the shape options you have in Keynote. So you'll see here I tapped on my shape icon at the top, and I'm going to add a few shapes. I'm going to add a square. I'm going to add a star. You'll see that they're obviously, black as the default. I'm going to tap on the paintbrush. Now you'll notice, I'll move this over here so you can see it. Now that I have it selected and I tap the paintbrush, I have some options here. If I unselect it and tap the paintbrush, my options are different. It's just the slide, the background, things of that nature. If I tap here and then tap the paintbrush once again, you'll see that I have style, text, and a range because it knows that I've selected something, so it knows that I'm looking to do different things with it in that editor or paintbrush tool. So I'm going to make this star blue and this black just so we can, talk about some different things here. Now, anything I want to do here, I'll go to the square now and I hit the paintbrush. A couple style options you have. You obviously can change your fill color to like anything, colors, gradients. You can even fill it with an image. You have options to do all these types of things. I'm going to leave this black for now. You have a border. If I were to slap on a border here and change the color, you can see I'll go with something like red so it sticks out. You can barely see it right now. It's on there, but I only have it as a width of 1 point. So if I add that to be thicker, maybe 10, you now see that. I can even change the style of the border. Any of those things are available to you. You even have these little frames down here that you can kind of play around with if you want them to look a little different for shapes. Those are completely, up to you. If you want to play around with some of those options, you always have the undo button. If you do want to change some of the things that you possibly put on your shape. I'm going to undo the border for now. So you also have here opacity. That is how much see-through the image is. You can see as I drag it down, it becomes lighter to invisible. And then I can bring it back to 100. It has reflection and shadows. You can see that the shadow just kind of came on and you can move that around. And the reflection is going to be, how much of the image do you want reflected below if you wanted it to look as though it was reflecting underneath it. So those are some of the basic style options for text. If I double tap on the inside of an option, I can type in it of a shape. I can use whatever is available in my library of emoji and things of that nature. So that is an option for text. Here is where you would then obviously change all that. And then I have this arrange option. Now, what's important here to know is just like if you were cutting things out and placing them on a piece of paper, scrapbook sort of thing, you do have the ability to move things front to back. Imagine the obviously bottom layer of your stuff is your white background here, or whatever color your background would be for your slide. You then have things you've added. Now, I added the square first, and then I added the star second. So the square is on the left because it's in the farthest back that it can go. If I want it to be on the right, now it's going to be on the top. So if I were to move this, it would now be on top. If I go back and hit arrange and move it backwards, you'll see that it goes front to back. So that's an arrange thing. It's very important to know that exists, because once you start adding quite a bit of content on your screen, you very likely could run into some issues with where it is and being able to grab it. So you also have constrained proportions. Now this is a perfect square currently. If I were to grab a side, though, it's no longer a perfect square. If I wanted to maintain its shape as a square, if I tap constrain proportions, I now cannot change it from a square. It's only going to be a square. Now, the same thing does happen if I were to lengthen that out and I hit constrain proportions. It's now only going to be a rectangle. That won't change. So those are a couple things to pay attention to. The constrained proportions is great when you're trying to keep circles as circles and things like that. Now you can also rotate your image by tapping here. You can choose The dart, like it starts out default with this where you can only change it by certain degrees. Sorry, I tapped on the screen there. I don't love this because you only have locked options. Here you have the ability to now choose any degree you want. You can also simply type in a number by tapping on the number little icon there, and you have your rotation to whatever degree you would want. You can flip horizontal and vertical, kind of hard to see with this type of shape, but if I were to rotate this, now another option you have is two fingers. You can grab the image and rotate. If I were to do this and now flip it, you can see that it horizontally and vertically, I can flip this image. Now, it doesn't really want to show much just because it's a simple shape and the rotation's just kind of getting changed. As you can see here, the rotation just flips on me. So it's hard to show, but if you had an image or something of that nature on here, it would be a little bit more visible for the rotation. You can also lock your image here if we're going down the screen, and then you can align and distribute things as you see fit. Now, last thing we're going to show, and this is a more advanced feature. So I am going to do something that is a gesture that you need to learn. I'm going to tap on the square, and then with another hand, I'm going to tap on the star. Tap, tap. You'll notice that I now have two things selected, not one. This little group icon shows up. You'll know if you have multiple things, the dots are around them, group will be an option in the menu. Now, what happens in Keynote, if I were to layer these shapes, sorry, I grabbed that little green dot, and what that does is allow you to edit certain things like how many points on the star and the thickness of it and things like that. So I wanted to avoid that. But I'm going to grab my star and drop it on top. And again, I'm going to zoom in here, tap, tap, and I have two things selected right now. I'm going to hit the paintbrush again. Under the Arrange tab, if I scroll up now, because I have multiple things selected, I have options of combining shapes in certain ways. Now, the four options here are you can unite shapes, I can intersect shapes, I can subtract from shapes, or I can exclude shapes. So let's look at what those do. If I combine shapes, I'm going to tap that. You'll see now that I have one solid shape that is a combination of those two. I'm going to undo. I am going to undo once again. I'm going to tap on my paintbrush. I'm going to slide up. I am going to now, let's look at intersect. So intersect only leaves the combined parts of the two images together and gets rid of everything else. So that's a change just of like, if you think that's something you want to create or need to make a new sort of shape, that is what you can do with intersect. The next one here is subtract. Now notice what happens. Okay, so it took away the part that was like into the bottom shape. Now it will always subtract the top shape. So that's where the alignment or the front to back adjustment of your arrangement here is important because it's only going to subtract the part that's layered on top. So that again allows you to take and create a new sort of shape. It would be like doing something like this, that maybe I want to have this star, right, completely out of the middle here and cut out. If I do that and I hit subtract, I now have a shape with a star cut out that isn't two shapes grouped together with colors changed and things like that. So those are maybe reasons why you might do that. I'm going to put this back in here. We're going to select both shapes. I'm going to show you the last one. Now we have the last option on the right, which is exclude. If I tap that, you'll see that it keeps both shapes. It excludes the combined parts and just kind of makes that disappear, but keeps the outside of both other ones that aren't layered on top. So that's a way to make customized shapes in Keynote. If you tap on this, you have an option to add to shapes. If I click add to shapes, it is under the My Shapes tab, and you'll see it gets added here. You now have the ability to add that shape in anytime you want on any presentation you create. Now you can also go in here and hold down on your shape and delete it or rename it. You can do those types of things. That gives you options to create and do something a little bit different or unique that others may not have. Okay, last thing for shapes, and then we'll move on because I know this is getting a little long. I'm going to find a shape that has multiple kind of pieces here that are maybe not connected. So we'll take like this basketball. Here's an example. If I tap on this and hit the paintbrush tool, under the Arrange tab, if you see a shape that is made up of multiple different shapes that are not connected or touching in any way, you'll see this break apart shows up. If I tap it, I now have separated out this shape. So maybe I want to take this basketball and create different colors for each of the panels, right? So if I wanted to do that, I might take and break it apart. Now I can make one of the panels green. I can make another panel, I'm going to make another panel different color. You'll see here that you can do this type of thing all the way around and kind of mess with the color of each of the shapes. So that's the last thing I wanted to show you. You have the ability to kind of customize even more, but it only works with shapes that have distinct pieces kind of merged together. All right, so that's the basics of using shapes and even some advanced features with combining and uniting shapes using some of the tools in Keynote. You can create a lot of things using these shapes without having to go out and search in the web or a variety of places to access these things. Here's an example of things that you could even make if you were somebody making infographics. This is made with pretty much everything coming from Keynote, right? You have these shapes that just are in Keynote that you could find. Very, very, very useful. Something you can create and make by combining. This was created by just combining shapes together to create the Christ the Redeemer statue that is in, I think Rio de Janeiro. So you can use all kinds of these tools and make your own things, and then add them in, so you don't have to go outside to find. So that's the reason why it's important to learn these skills with shapes. Very, very useful. Hopefully you found this interesting. Practice, learn, figure out how to use these, and thanks for watching.